Good morning 5P2. Today we will start a series of video lessons on chapter 4, congruence and similarity. So for the next few lessons, like what I mentioned in the schedule, I would like you to have ready your worksheets, both the notes worksheet as well as the exercise worksheet, as well as your textbook ready to do the exercises. And you can follow the videos, okay, and copy down the notes in your worksheet as you look at the video, and you may pause the video anytime, for instance when you are trying the exercises. Okay, so if you are ready, let's start. Alright, today we're going to start looking at chapter 4, and chapter 4 is really about congruency and similarity. I think in lower set you have learned about congruency and similarity before, so I think the introduction we can go a little bit faster, okay, it's just a bit of recall, but more importantly for this topic we'll be focusing on some proofs, okay, how do you prove that triangles are similar or triangles are congruent? Okay, so let's start with congruency. Now recall the definition of congruency. Two figures are congruent only if they have the same shape and the same size. Okay, for instance, look at the two figures shown in your worksheet. Alright, they have the same shape. How do you tell? You can see that all the angles are actually the same. So one way to tell the shape is to look at all the angles. And how do we tell that they're exactly the same size? Besides looking at the figure itself, we look at all the measurements. You see that all the measurements of the figures are exactly the same. So we can confirm that these two figures are the same size. So we confirm that they are the same size by looking at the length of their sides. Okay, so in short, I can say that the figure ABCD on the left is congruent to the figure A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime on the right. And in short form, okay, for is congruent to, I can actually use this sign here, okay, which is the three horizontal lines to show congruency. Okay, so to summarize, that two figures are congruent, we need to make sure that both the corresponding sides are equal, okay, and this is to confirm that they are of the same size, and we also need to confirm that the corresponding angles are equal, and this is to confirm that they are the same shape. Now in congruency, how you actually name the triangles and how you write out the congruency is very important. Okay, so we shall use an example below to illustrate this. Now you look at these two triangles, ABC and triangle PQR. You are told from the question that triangle ABC and triangle PQR are congruent. Now what does this mean? I think lower set you have learned before, when we say that they are congruent, it also means that their sides are corresponding. That means A will correspond to P, okay, B will correspond to Q, and C will correspond to R. See, so if I look at the side AC, right, where will AC actually correspond to? Okay, if you look at the figures here, AC, alright, you find that A and C will correspond to P and R. So I know the side AC corresponds to the side PR. Okay, and I can actually write it down here. I have AC, so I know AC corresponds to PR. And the order is very important now. You cannot write RP. Okay, because RP is not of the correct order. So you have to follow A corresponds to P and C corresponds to R. Okay, so can we try for the other two sides? How about the side AB? Where does it correspond to? So if we look at AB, okay, Okay, it will correspond to PQ. So we know the side AB correspond to the side PQ. And therefore, the side BC, I think you can infer, okay, if you look at, okay, because I know triangle ABC, let me write it down here, is congruent to triangle PQR. So if I'm looking for BC, the corresponding side will be QR. Okay, remember the order is actually very important. Okay, so to help yourself, you can actually, okay, write down the second figure, because triangle ABC corresponds to triangle PQR, so I know A corresponds to P, okay, B corresponds to Q, and C corresponds to R. This will help us when we are trying to find what are the corresponding angles. That means which are the angles that are equal. Again, the order is very important. So we are looking at the corresponding angle of triangle ABC, okay, which is this angle over here. Now, if you look at this triangle ABC, we can just follow the order straight away. We know that this will be, okay, corresponding to, if you look at triangle angle ABC, okay, the corresponding side, this will correspond to your angle PQR. Again, the order we should write the letters are very important. Okay, let's try another example. Angle BAC. So if you have written down the corresponding sides on the side, it makes it easier, because if I want angle BAC, okay, this angle over here, it will actually correspond to angle QPR. Okay, and can I give you a few seconds to try the last one on your own? Angle ACB. Okay, this angle here, ACB. It will correspond to angle PRQ. Okay, note that all the time you see that A will always correspond to P, B will correspond to Q, C will correspond to R. Okay, so the order is actually very important.